Do you think that we should have borders as a country?
That's a tricky question. Yeah.
Would we have a country if we didn't have a border?
That's a difficult question. I've never thought from that perspective, but I think
So why do you think we have borders?
it is basically demarking just a land of a certain.
In the war in Syria in 2015, 2016, Saudi Arabia and Qatar, who are obviously pretty rich Muslim countries, okay, didn't actually accept any refugees from there, from that war. What do you think about that?
I mean, it's not great news, but again, I'm not from there. I'm Australian. I want Australia to be bringing people in. You know,
They've got plenty of room there. Would you say that because Australia is accepting refugees, do you reckon Saudi Arabia and Qatar and those countries should be doing it too?
I think morally any country should be, yes.
Mate, what do you think about how Saudi Arabia and Qatar do nothing to accept refugees from Syria, but we do?
Yeah, I would not like to go into that point why Saudi Arabia and Qatar is not doing for refugees and things like that.
Why do you think Saudi Arabia and Qatar and rich countries in the Middle East that are closer to Syria and can house people, why do they take nothing in?
But that's not necessarily true. Like Lebanon, for instance, has the largest refugee camp there. That there are, half the population is refugees. So there are.
Specifically, Saudi Arabia is probably one of the richest countries in the region, but it is a fact they've done nothing to take any of the refugees in. Do you think that they should? They're not signed on to the UN treaty.
That's right, and that would be the escape clause, wouldn't it? Really, but obviously.
So why is a country like Australia on the other side of the world really dictated to by the UN about how many we should take in when countries like Saudi Arabia don't?
Well, the UN doesn't dictate how many we'll take in. We decide what numbers we're going to take in.
But isn't it on the? Do we vote on that?
No, politicians make that decision.
Most of the time, right, when we're at these refugee rallies, we're talking about, obviously, refugees that come from Syria, the war in the Middle East. What do you reckon about accepting the white refugees from South Africa who are being, the white farmers from South Africa who are being slaughtered at the moment? Do you think we should accept them too?
If they're refugees, if they're escaping from war and that, then sure.
Should we show the same solidarity with the white South African farmers who are being killed at the moment?
I think the way that you're asking the questions is a kind of, and I know this is part of the style, but where...
Well, it's not really a gotcha thing or anything like that. It's like we just didn't talk about it.
Yeah, because that's not our primary concern right at this moment.
Do you think it's unfair that the United Nations dictate to us how many refugees we take in? They don't do it to Saudi Arabia, don't do it to Qatar. Do we have a say in that?
We do have a say. We have a seat on the United Nations. That is our say. If we have signed a treaty to say that we'll take...
Did you vote on that treaty?
No. Do I vote on every decision made by the government?
Well, no, but I think it's don't you think it's a pretty bloody important decision that you should really have access to be voting on, don't you think?
I think we vote on that when we decide on our politicians.
But the United Nations really aren't accountable to us.
If we have an issue with decisions that the politicians are making, then we can come out and protest as much as we are today. I don't think that we are without voice, but I think that it's also unreasonable to expect that we will have to have a say on every decision that the government makes.
So who are these people at the UN who are deciding on these treaties for Western countries to take in these? Who are they accountable to? They're not voted in.
But they're appointed by their governments.
Yeah. But you and I really don't have a say in that, do we? Do you think that's a problem?
We don't have a say in most of what goes on in politics, though, do we?